Welcome back, February 19th, 2021. A few notes from the This Is Going to Be a Special Time file item. Reuters reports that the United States yesterday told the United Nations Security Council it was rescinding a Trump administration order that all UN sanctions had been reimposed on Iran in September. Richard Goldberg writes of this, and here we go. Biden just reversed U.S. policy and endorsed an Iranian enrichment program, nuclear sunsets, nuclear-capable missile testing, and Iran's import of advanced conventional weapons from Russia and China. The move raises a number of questions. Among them, why would the administration endorse an Iranian enrichment program and nuclear sunsets when Iran is concealing undeclared nuclear material, sites, and activities from the International Atomic Energy Agency in violation of its obligations under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty? Close quote. Can we expect pallets of cash soon also? The very kind of cash we sent last time when Biden was vice president and that Secretary of State John Kerry said he could not guarantee would not end up in the hands of terrorists? Iran being the leading state sponsor of terror in the world, that upsets some of us. Iranian human rights activist Masih Alinejad just tweeted today, in 1 week, the Islamic Republic has 1. Tortured Benhaman Mahjoubi to death, 2. Kept his body as collateral, 3. Hanged an already dead woman, 4. Prevented a female athlete from leaving Iran as her husband didn't give her permission, 5. Hanged 16 people. By the way, in case you didn't know who Mahjoubi was, he was a Sufi activist, about as peaceful as an American Quaker. Item. Victor Hansen writes, quote, "The height of our collective madness is the current cancel culture. Its subtexts are unearned white privilege and white supremacy. In the name of those supposed abominations, mobs tear down statues, destroy careers, censor speech, require veritable oaths, and conduct re-education training. Stranger still, those alleging white privilege are usually themselves quite wealthy, liberal, and white. These elites count on their incestuous networking, silver spoon upbringings, and their Tony degrees to leverage status, influence, and money in a way undreamed of by the white working class. Quite affluent and privileged minorities likewise join the chorus to call for everything from reparations to the reprogramming of Trump voters. The most elite in America, the most likely to damn the privilege of those who lack it. Perhaps the illogic squares the psychological circle of feeling guilty about what they never had any intention of giving up. If blaming those without advantages does not satisfy the unhappy liberal elite, then there's always warring against the mute dead, changing their eponymous names, destroying their statues, slandering their memories, and denying their achievements. The common denominator of all these absurdities? An ungracious and neurotic elite whose judgment is bankrupt and whose privilege is paid for by those who don't have it. This prompted a listener here, Mike, to write me. He wrote, "It occurred to me reading Hansen that we conservatives may be missing an opportunity to throw white privilege back into the face of the elites. I quickly wrote down some of their privileges. They are not complete, but you get the point. None of them serve the words or the spirit of our Constitution, free speech, or any notion of fairness. Shut down internet speech you do not agree with, pressure advertisers to cancel the media programs you do not agree with, discriminate against white and Asian people, seek power to redistribute wealth earned by others to favored groups to gain their support, shut down energy sources that do not meet your perceived view of our future, encourage riots and property crimes without retribution, talk with a single voice throughout all of the media, dominate professorships throughout our colleges and universities, open our borders to one and all to compete with our citizens for jobs, increase wages to the point that small businesses can not compete with large ones, shut down church services and keep open big box and other favored stores, force sports teams to rename their teams, force schools to close, send jobs to foreign competitors, occupy our capital for no good reason, impeach private citizens, oppose the singing of our national anthem, and feel free to demonize our living as well as dead citizens." Thank you, Mike. Nicely done. Item. Chris Rufo writes, New York's East Side Community School recently sent a letter encouraging white parents to become quote-unquote white traitors and advocate for quote-unquote white abolition. The message, sent by Principal Mark Fetterman, showed a graphic outlining 8 stages of white identity development, from the lowest form, white supremacist, to the intermediate forms of white confessional and white traitor, to the highest form, white abolitionist. The goal of this process, according to the graphic's creator, Northwestern University Professor Barner Hess, is to challenge the regime of whiteness and eventually to subvert white authority and not allow whiteness to reassert itself. In the letter to the parents, Fetterman went on a tirade against white conservatives, arguing that, quote, racism and hate is often the underlying cause fueling their beliefs, close quote. He, of course, denounced former President Donald Trump as a, quote, lying, racist, sexist, classist, hateful, science-denying bully, close quote, and described Trump supporters who attended his rallies as crowds of white supremacists. Fetterman's latest outburst came as no surprise, said one parent of children no longer at the school. The parent, who requested anonymity, said that Fetterman had pushed a divisive, progressive line to students and families for a long time. The language in Fetterman's letter carries disturbing historic echoes. The Ku Klux Klan and neo-Nazis used the term race traitor to describe whites who crossed the color line to work, marry, or associate with non-whites. The letter's use of white abolition is also troubling. Fetterman and Hess claim to want to abolish whiteness as a social and cultural construct, but they also use the term to describe an immutable racial essence. As University of New Mexico professor Jeffrey Miller has observed, quote, applied to any other group beyond whites, this would sound like a monstrous euphemism for mass extermination and cultural annihilation, close quote. Quite right. To this, I add another item from John Hinderocker. A Northern California school board discussed ways to limit the public's ability to speak at meetings and mocked parents who desperately want schools to reopen. They want their babysitters back, Lisa Brizendine, a trustee of Oakley Union Elementary School, told her colleagues during a pre-meeting session that they believed was not open to the public. School board member Kim Bede mentioned a negative interaction with some frustrated parents. A frustrated parent then described her own mindset. Baloney, if you're going to call me out. I'm going to, word I can't say, you up. Another member of the board theorized that parents want their kids to go back to school so they can spend the day getting high. Lovely. How ridiculous. Parents want teachers to actually do the jobs for which they are being paid. The board did not respond to reporters' requests for comment. It's interesting, though, to learn that at least one school board member considers her teachers to be babysitters. Maybe she has a point. Our public schools are so bad that if they successfully babysit kids throughout the day, they're probably average or better already. The catch, of course, is that if they are running a babysitting service, our teachers and school administrators are obviously very much overpaid. Paul Mirengoff adds, I agree with John that there is a silver lining to the pandemic here. Post-pandemic, I think public school enrollment will decline. Surely a good thing. I expect that the standing of teachers in the public's estimation will also decline. Also a good thing. Item. Dennis Prager writing in the Wall Street Journal today. Many of Russia's critics decried him as divisive, as if the left hasn't been the most divisive force in America since the Civil War. This lack of self-awareness on the part of the left is mind-numbing. Calling America systematically racist, calling every white American racist, separating college dorms and graduating exercises by race. This isn't divisive? Using the New York Times demonstrably false 1619 project to teach America's school children that our country wasn't founded in 1776, but some other date when black slaves arrived in North America, and that the Revolutionary War was fought to preserve slavery. In other words, our founding wasn't about freedom and equality, but slavery. And to make that concrete, they invent and shove down our throats an entirely new and invented date. That's not divisive. Forcing high school girls to race against biological males who identify as females. That's not divisive. The Supreme Court ruling that non-denominational prayer in public schools is unconstitutional. That wasn't divisive. Yet according to the left, only when conservatives respond to such attacks on America and Americans does divisiveness enter national life. No one responded more forcefully and effectively to all this and with as large an audience as possible as Rush Limbaugh did, hence the hatred of the man. Well put. Finally, I conclude with a quote on my mind a lot lately. Let's make it today's show, the show's ethic today, or at least its leitmotif. It's from William Wordsworth. What we have loved, others will love, but we must teach them how. I'm Seth Leibson. We'll be right back.